All right, so welcome back to Snafu Performance Garage. We're gonna get back at it and make this mid plate on this engine block. So here it is. You know, we're just gonna get that plate in the back of the engine. It's gonna go to the frame down there where the blue marks are on either side. And I got a template over here. Use some cardboard. I got a rough shape. This has to go down under the floorboard over here, right where your foot's gonna go for the gas pedal. So we're gonna leave that alone on the floor. We're not gonna modify the floor. Made a notch in the plate. That's why it doesn't look uniform, but uniform doesn't really matter on this because it has to be functional. So I transferred everything. It's nice and sloppy. You see my my perfectly straight line, right? Everything's transferred to the metal plate. We're gonna get the plasma cutter out. We're gonna zip this out, grind all the edges. We'll get some holes popped in it, both sides, and we're gonna make up some plates that are just gonna come down off of the bottom of this plate and weld straight to the frame rail. All right, so here we are. Sean's going to slice this mid plate up here for us with the plasma cutter. Then we'll get out the grinder and straighten it all out. Send it. All right, Sean's got the grinder out. He's making this thing look pretty.
Alright, there you have it, folks. The whole thing is ground down all along all the edges that need to be grounded down. And I'm just going to hit it over to the belt sander and make it nice and smooth on all the edges.
All right, hey, there we are. We'll cut out the backing plates for the mid plate now. These are just going to be the braces that actually mount to the frame. It's more 1/4 inch plate that I've got. It's probably a little bit overkill, but it's going to be super strong. This thing is going to be driven a lot. So here we go. Just hack this stuff out with the plasma cutter. I like this plasma cutter. Well, I like any plasma cutter. It makes sparks and it's quick. Not too bad for freehand. Chip that slag off of there and get these things ready to make some holes in them and mount to the frame real quick. All right, so we've got our brackets all cut out for this mid plate. These are the ones that we're gonna get welded to the frame. So they're all cut, drilled, they fit beautiful. So we're going to put these in. I just want to show you guys something in case you ever run into this. So most of you probably already know this, but I figured I'd just point it out since we just had that problem. Somehow a couple lock nuts got mixed into my 3/8 bolt assortment here. So I've got a whole bunch of nuts and bolts that I just buy from the surplus store for mock-up and stuff like that. Well, just so you guys know, so if you ever run into a situation where you see that little dimple, that little square on the side of a nut, a lot of times that's an indication that that's some sort of a locking nut. And I can show you. So here's a bolt. If you thread this on, you get down 2-3 threads and it stops. Because it's got those little dimples or little indentations where it pushes in on the threads. Just makes it bind up so it doesn't come off. It's not something you would want to use on anything that has to be safe, a suspension component or anything. Usually those are for like furniture or a kid's bed or something like that that's not really bouncing around on the road or in a boat or a motorcycle or dirt bike or something like that. So here's a regular nut that just had, there's no dimples on it. Same bolt, right? Threads right on. Just something if you're, running into that and you keep saying, why the heck do I have to tighten these nuts down with a wrench? They're all brand new. A lot of times those will get mixed in on accident. Even at the hardware stores like Home Depot and Lowe's, if you're just, you know, sifting through a bucket of these things, you know, they got a bin, right, that's got 500 of them in it. Sometimes they'll get mixed up. Sometimes they'll get a shipment of the wrong thing because it's obviously easy to do a mistake. So just a little tech tip there for you to watch for. So I'm gonna pop this right-hand bracket in. We're gonna get the welder over here. We're gonna throw a couple beads on this. And get these things all situated. And that's how they fit right there. They're just going to be welded in like that. Being that these back plates are so flimsy in the fore and aft direction anyway, I don't think I'm going to put gussets on these plates, because I really don't think with all the surface area I have to weld, I don't think these plates will ever go anywhere. Like the front ones, I was a little more concerned with the front. There's more movement out of the front of the frame, I think. That, you know, the front of the engine is not supported as good on that driver's side because of the steering box, so I just put a little extra reinforcement in there. But these here, with this 3/16 plate or 1/8" plate just being as flimsy as it is, and that's not, you know, I'm not saying that because of who made it or it's a Motion Raceworks, and it's not. It's by design. These are thinner plates than the front. Usually, people do sell 1/4" thick ones, but then you have issues spacing your torque converter out. This is the least invasive as far as having to space that torque converter. Because just remember, whenever you use that spacer plate, now you have to ensure that your torque converter is the correct distance away from the flywheel or the flex plate and the back of the crankshaft. There has to be that clearance there that stays in check. So you always want to inspect that clearance. You never want your torque converter being pressed tight against the flex plate, and you don't want it too far away either because it can disengage from the front pump of the transmission. So that's something you really have to double check when you do a modification like this, especially if you go with the 1/4" one. A 1/4" one, you're gonna have to stack washers and put some solid spacers in there. So just keep that in mind. We always check them. I check them no matter what, whether it's brand new out of the box, custom built, stock car, you know, a stock application in a regular Chevy pickup that has, you know, 215 horsepower. You have to check that stuff because it'll ruin your torque converter, ruin your transmission. That's it. We've got everything kind of bolted in place slightly. We're gonna get the welder out. We're gonna buzz them in, and then we can finally set this thing down on the ground, roll it out. And unfortunately, we have some maintenance to do on some of our everyday vehicles. So, being that I've got all these other bays tied up with stuff, I want to get this thing out. Sean's going to start taking the interior out. We'll get this outside, and we'll start to disassemble the interior next. So. Well, there you go. We got mid plate is in. It's done. It's welded. It's not completely welded, and once I get the cab back off, I'll weld everything 100% while I can get in there. There's no sense fighting it right now. One thing I did forget to mention that I'm not sure everybody knows about: when you use a front engine plate and a mid engine plate like this in this configuration, you have to have some kind of a brace to eliminate the forward and backward or fore and aft movement, because these plates can flex this way and that way. So when the car launches, everything is pushing forward. You don't want that to end up disengaging your drive shaft if you're on the edge of being too short of a drive shaft. Rear suspension moves, engine moves forward. If all those, you know, all those worlds come together and your drive line is just not in far enough, now you have a nightmare on your hands because the drive shaft's coming out of the car. You have to put some kind of a stabilization brace that goes from the frame to the side of the engine block. Now you can buy these. I think Summit sells their own, Jeg sells their own, Motion Raceworks sells a bunch of really nice ones. for all the different platforms. LS, I think they sell them for Chrysler. I think they sell big block Chevy, small block Chevy. Motion Raceworks has some really nice ones there, so you can check them out. I have a lot of materials and I have the ability to do it, so I'm going to make my own. I just bought the individual pieces and saved myself, I don't know, probably $200 just by making them on my own, which making them myself is pretty simple anyway. It's just, you know, I'm using a piece of 3/4 inch round tube. I got some Heim joints and I got an engine adapter plate and then some little shock brackets. So it's simple. I'm just using, you know, the shock 3/8 hole shock brackets, weld them onto the plates, weld them onto the frame. I may have to in this situation because this frame in these trucks comes so far forward and there's really nothing else behind it. I might make a custom bracket where that'll go so it gives me a little bit more length. So you can't, obviously you can't have the two Heim joints touching each other, but there's no sense having a Heim joint. So I might mess around with that a little bit to get enough length so that I can, but when I get to that point, I'll show you guys. The cab does not need to be on to do that. I'm gonna have to get in there and make some modifications to a few things so I can do that, get it secure, get it where I want it, and then that's just gonna, it's just going to stabilize the engine from going forward and backward. You can snug them up, get a little preload on it, and make sure that that thing is solid as a rock. So there you go. It's not going to twist. It's not going to torque now. And that's really what we want. This is going to work to stiffen the frame up. It's going to keep everything in line right where we want it. We're not relying on a rubber mount. We still will be putting a polyurethane mount on the transmission cross member. I got to make the transmission cross member, get that all situated, get the mount all in place there. So we'll be doing that, but not right now. The goal right now is we need to get this frame to the sandblaster, get primer on it so I can finish boxing it, then I can do the cross member underneath, and we got to finish welding up a bunch of stuff on the back end of this thing. So we're going to roll this baby out here real soon. Talk to you later.